I love the One Piece trading card game, and I love spending money on this game efficiently. Buying singles for your deck has always been the most cost-effective way of playing card games. But what if we just throw that all away? In this series, we aim to build a competitive One Piece deck using only official sealed product as well as trading. With a budget of only $30 a week, can we become the king of the pirates? This is One Piece from scratch. Welcome back, Pirates, to a very special episode of One Piece from Scratch. This will be our first off-meta local event. Every first Tuesday of the month is a special tournament at my locals, where we only play leaders where we deem them to be off-meta based on meta relevancy. Additionally, the first and second place finishers will have their leaders banned, so that every month something new has the chance to shine. I think this will be a nice break of pace to have fun, experiment with cards we wouldn't normally be able to use, and to provide a unique side challenge to the series. Since we're still only working with leaders that we've opened during the series, we have a decent selection. Unfortunately, some colors just barely have enough cards to make the 50 card mark, so we can technically build a legal deck with what we've pulled, but there wouldn't be much of a coherent strategy there. For that reason, we're going to stick to a black leader and utilize parts of a well-developed strategy, and there's only one man for the job. Before we get too excited about building a new deck, let's try and find some upgrades to our main deck. So this is the last 6 packs of the box. Hopefully we've got some good stuff lined up in here. I think we are due for another alt art, so hopefully we'll be able to pull some trade bait or some black top end. There's a lot of good alt arts for some high cost characters. We're thinking Kaido, thinking Jack especially. So without further ado, let's get into it. Just as a side note, I am recording this a little bit early just in case I don't get my hands on the Smoker Structure deck. So hopefully this airs as episode 6 instead of 5. So we have Guernica, Drum Kingdom, Hamlet, Speed Jill, Event, Shark Guy, Nitro, Phoenix Brand, Neko, Sasaki, another Sasaki, that's very nice. We'll put him in the usable pile. And Wapple for Wapple House, very nice. Pack number 2, Mushuru, Charlotte Cracker, Miyagi, X-Drake, The Event, another event, Roddy, Charlotte Opera, Sheep's Head, Dawn times 1, give all your opponent's characters -1 costs, meh, Munch Mutation, Earth Will Never Lose, and Jewelry Bonnie. Now Bonnie could be some decent trade baits. We did just trade off the S-Snake, so hopefully that can go to someone else. Jin Rummy, Chess, Sparrow, Charlotte Angel, Ulti, the Bird, the Egg, Oven, Custard, Pudding, Katakuri, and Wiper. Alright, we really gotta heat up here. Guernica, Bunkin, Buckin, Biscuit Warrior, Sweet Pea, Burn Bazooka, Maria Onion Bear, Nitro, Scratchman of Pooh, Lappins, Iron Body Fang Flash, another Who's Who, let's go! So that's definitely going to make its way into our list. We'll throw them over here. And Conquest of the Sea. 2 more packs, hopefully something good's in these final 2. We got the Bird, the Lion, Amazon Lily Girl, Heliceratops, Basil Hawkins, the Egg, Drake, Thatch, S-Shark, Aliber, Queen. We could probably use this Queen and then implement more Animal Kingdom Pirates, so not bad, honestly. Woo-wee! Very nice, very nice, very nice. Alt Nami. So that Nami is actually really good. We talked about that Nami before, and to have an alt art of a waifu tax character, that is going to be very good for our trade binder. Hopefully we can trade that into some better top end or some other obscure cards that we need. Stuff like the Brook, maybe some Rebecca's. We're going to hold off on any Admirals, but we'll see. Final pack. So I'm not expecting anything in this last pack since we just got our alts, but who knows? Maybe we got... Oh, no. Oh, it's a hit. Okay. S-Bear, Tristan, 20 Doctors, Bird, Event, Smoothie, Event, Inarashi, Southbird, Phoenix Brand, another Wapple for Wapple House, and Carrots. Okay. Little bit of damage on the back there. It's not the worst. It's still playable. But Carrot, another really good card. pretty relevant in Bonnie right now, so hopefully we'll be able to trade that one off as well. And speaking of trades, we did trade the Nami from episode 4 for a copy of Deck Daddy Jack, which is awesome. And we did trade the 10 cost Doflamingo alt from the last episode for a copy of Laboon, Rebecca, as well as Jimbei. And that Jimbei is just going to sit in my trade binder, and hopefully that'll go to some Dofi player that wants it. And finally, we did trade off that Nami alt art to our friend Max, and of course, we're getting some nice black cards in return. We've got a lot of great updates to our main deck, but we aren't playing our main deck for this episode. As previously discussed, our leader is banned for this event, so we gotta switch it up. We do still have guaranteed rare and 4 commons that we could pick from our win, so I think we can put them to good use this week. So as you could have guessed, we are playing King for our off-meta event today. It's one of the black leaders that we actually can use a lot of the stuff we already have for, and so we're not just scrambling to put 50 random cards together. That being said, we are keeping a good amount of an established strategy, which is going to be the Navy package. We did slim it down a bit, so you're not going to see every Navy card in here. We only have 3 brand new for that reason. We don't really need to have 4 since we're not going to be using it to search very often. We don't have as many targets in the deck. We have 3 Kobe and 1 Ice Age. That's more of our offensive kind of cards for the Navy engine. And then the rest of it is really just defense. We've got the 4 Suru, we've got 4 Tashigi, and 2 T-Bone. One of them we did get for our guaranteed rare. And we're going to round it out with 1 copy of Borsalino that we just traded for. So since we are playing King, I think it's going to be very in theme to be playing some of the Animal Pirates. We do have 1 copy of the Searcher that we pulled, so we're going to be playing it. We're going to be expanding a little bit of our Animal Kingdoms stuff. So we have 2 copies of Sasaki. It's a searchable 2K, and it is pretty relevant off of Moria. We can use it to pay a Dawn, then give something -2 cost. We've seen Who's Who before. It's another searchable 2K. Something that I actually really wanted to try out was the Page 1 and Ulti combo. We have 2 Page 1 and 3 Ulti. If we had 4 or 3 Page 1s, I'd probably go 4 Ulti, but considering we only need 1 in Trash to be able to use the Page 1 since it pulls from Trash, I think a 2-3 split is fine there. And of course we have the heavy hitters. We have our 2 Jack, one of them we just got from a trade, and 3 Kaido. Really, this Queen's going to serve as more of a 3rd copy of Jack, 4th copy of Kaido, just being able to dig for these specific cards in general, because those are going to be some of our strongest cards. The final card of the Animal Kingdoms Pirates is going to be Conquest of the Sea. This is actually a really crazy card. It reads, Dawn -2 main. If your leader has Animal Kingdoms or Big Mom Pirates, which it does, KO up to 2 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less. So that's going to be a huge tempo swing. That's basically like the Gravity Raging Blade whatever event from blue, except we have it in purple. Paired with our leader's ability to give cost minus and a few of our other stuff, especially in our Navy package that can give cost minus, this could be a huge, really impactful card. So I'm really excited to test it out. We're going to continue the spice. We're actually playing the Charlotte Cracker package. I saw it do well at a regional, and so I really wanted to try it out. And we did use the rest of our guaranteed cards on our Biscuit Warriors. So we native had 3 that we pulled, and we did get 4 more from our guaranteed common. So at least they're going to something at least fun. I won't say it's pretty good or anything, but it is going to be a pretty funny meme to try and use our Charlotte Cracker to get our Biscuit Warriors out. And of course we have our support cards. We have 2 Rebeccas, one of them we got from a trade recently. We have Sabo, again we got him from a trade, and Moria, and the final card is actually the Charlotte Linlin that we pulled a few episodes ago, probably in like the 2nd episode. It is going to be a really good card for removal, so I'm really excited to try this out. It's been sitting in our binder for a good while, and unfortunately we don't have the other alt art that we pulled. We traded that away pretty early on for some stuff, so we're only rocking 1 copy. So this is the list we're going to be rocking tonight for our off meta. Hopefully we do well. Coming into game 1, it's versus the Professor of Purple himself, Logan, and he is playing Iceburg. So I win the die roll here, and then I choose to go first. I'm pretty sure that Iceburg doesn't really care whether or not they go first or second. They more so care about whether or not they see stage or not, since that's going to be ramping them into all of their bigger bodies. So since this is off meta and we haven't seen many of these leaders for quite some time, some leaders at all, I should go over what these leaders do. So Iceburg reads, this leader cannot attack. Activate main Dawn -1. You may rest this leader. Play up to 1 Galley Law Company type card with a cost of 5 or less from hand. And the stage that gets played right here is the other piece of the puzzle. It's the Galley Law stage. You can rest it to ramp a Dawn as rested. Then you can just Dawn -1 from the leader to put out a character onto the board. So the idea is that Iceburg can put out a whole lot of bigger bodies in the earlier turns in exchange for the leader not being able to attack. So my game plan coming into this is that if I can at least clear all the bodies that he's producing, then his leader's not going to be able to pressure any of my characters or my life, so I just need to keep pace with removal. And I have Jack and Tashigi on board, so that means we can pop up to 5 costs, which all the characters in his deck are mainly going to be 5 costs to work with his leader effect, so I'm feeling like I'm in a pretty good spot, especially if I can protect that Tashigi so it can keep on getting value from -2 to something and then using Jack to pop it. Even if I didn't have that Tashigi on board, I could still use my King leader effect to Dawn -2 and then apply a -2 cost to one of his characters that way. Keeping up with the removal, I do use the 9-drop Linlin to send Kaku to the bottom of life. I think that Kaku in particular is going to be one of the stronger threats in his deck because it can, when attacking Dawn -1, to give himself banished. We do want a lot of our cards to go from our life to our hand instead of life to trash, since we are a 4-cost leader, or a 4-life leader, excuse me. And on our opponent's turn, we did see that they played the Reiju, but unfortunately I was at lower Dawn than him, so he was not able to get the draw 2 off of Reiju's effect. And then we just saw a 6 swing from Rob Lucci into the Tashigi, and we do want to be protecting it because, again, we can use Tashigi's effect to minus and then use Jack or some other form of removal. On this turn, it ended up being the T-Bone to pop all of his stuff, and then King Leader effect plus Jack was able to clear the last body on his board, which was the Poly. So that means I've got a really wide board full of threats staring down an open field. And I'm feeling like I'm in the pilot seat right now, especially considering that our opponent's leader cannot attack, so we know that nothing's going to be threatened on our board, and our life's going to be pretty safe this turn. Our opponent does rebuild their board pretty sizably, so right now I'm kind of in a crossroads. I'm not sure if I should really go for game, especially considering he's still got 3 life left, and I haven't seen a whole bunch of 2Ks come from his hand quite yet. So I swing 7/7/9 and he takes all 3 hits, and I'm pretty sure that the Jack would have actually cleared his whole hand, but I got really scared, so instead I decided to start popping the rest of his board. I used the Tashigi effect as well as Jack, as well as the King effect into Who's Who to be popping some of his board. So essentially we slowed down the game a bit just so we can ensure that we're going to get game next turn. Now our opponent does play the Frankie here to put him down to 6 cards in hand, and then plays the Reiju, but again, I am lower on Dawn, which is the other constraint of Reiju, so unfortunately the Reiju was unable to draw. Tashigi plus Jack is going to be that 5-cost threshold, so we're able to pop the Kid blocker and then swing big with Linlin for game. He did have a lot of 2Ks, plus that 1K and Frankie effect to give another -2K, but that wasn't enough, so that's GG's.
Is my main problem, because like if I run into like a Eustace kid.
Oh, these are the older ones. Edison, Manga Rayleigh.
Yeah. Let's see it. Manga Rayleigh right now. I got S-Snake.
Nice.
That's a good card. I don't think I'll be playing Megapunk, but.
Oh, Jozu, nice. That's my playset of Jozu's. Round 2 on War versus a Chopper. He did say that usually he plays Newgate and wasn't expecting today to be an off-meta night, so he took his Zoro deck and just threw it on the Chopper leader. And I think the Zoro deck does work well under the umbrella of Chopper. It's just a different flavor of Zoro. Instead of attaching 1 Dawn to the leader Zoro to give the global plus 1K to all of your characters, you're just going to have to play a character already, so you have the rested Dawn, and then attach that rested Dawn to your characters through the Chopper leader. And they do share a lot of the same strengths, mainly that the leader is tagged Straw Hat, so you can use Janbei to make your leader swing unblockable, as well as access to the red suite of really good cards. You have a lot of the Rush cards, you have like the unblockable Monkey D. Luffy that just got played. You have the rest of the Rush suite. I'm thinking Zoro, Kid Killer, Dragon, as well as some of the more powerful red events like Rad Beam, for example. Now I'm going to try and slowly outgrind our opponent on resources. I do swing 8 into the Monkey D. Luffy to try and get some counter out of hand. He does give me 2 2K, so I'm pretty sure that this 6K swing with Kobe does bring it down. And on our opponent's crackback turn, they do establish a wide board of blockers, as well as the Robinson. 1 active Dawn plus the leader effect is going to be able to give the 2 Dawn to Robinson that he needs to give it Brush, and then we see a 6K swing and a 5K swing. Coming back to my turn, I'm trying to figure out ways of trying to deal with his board without giving him life, and I start that by swinging my Kobe into his Robinson, and he lets that go. And I do swing 5K into his life, and he does use the Chopper blocker to block it instead of taking the life here, and I think he really should have taken the life just to advance some more resources to his hand. And we see the effects of this. He attaches all the active Dawn to his characters and swings with them instead of being able to play something from hand and then use leader effect to be a little bit more efficient with his Dawn. Coming back to my turn, I've got some weenies of my own. I'm going to use my brand news to swing into his Correa House, clearing his board, and then using the Kaido to pop the Chopper. It does seem like overkill, but that is able to rip the last card out of his hand. Now I'm feeling like I've really starved him out of his resources. I've dealt with his board, and he had 0 cards in hand as soon as I started swinging, so I'm fine with giving him some life here. And there were actually some scenarios where I could have lost on this turn, especially if he had something like a unblockable Luffy plus Janbei. I didn't really have a whole lot of counter in hand that would have actually been able to clear my life uncontested, but fortunately for us, we do make it to the crackback. And from here, we've got a really wide board, and we're not seeing any blockers on his side of the field, so it's just going to be a numbers game to get through all the life and then go in for game here. And that's GG's. Round 3, it's versus Dom, and he is piloting the Red Purple Kid. Once the glare finally goes away on his leader card, you'll see that it is a custom leader card. He is a really big fan of those custom leaders. And if you're unfamiliar of what Red Purple Kid does, he is the only 5-life dual-colored leader. His effect reads, your turn, if you have 4 or more life cards, give this leader minus 1,000 power. When attacking, Dawn minus 1, give this leader 2,000 power during this turn. So it's kind of like a Regigigas. It's got a really slow start, but can finish really strong. And I know that the Kid Pirates do get a lot of support in the set 9 coming up, but it's really interesting to see exactly what Red Purple Kid can do before he gets all that support. Coming back to the game, I had a really slow early mid-game, so our opponent is able to capitalize pretty hard off of this. He does play the New Gates to be able to pop my blocker and then give one Dawn to the Bon Clay. Bon Clay is going to swing into Charlotte Cracker. That's going to take it down, and he finishes with a lead swing onto my brand new, completely clearing my board. Coming back to my turn, we really don't have much going on. I do swing the 5 into the Bon Clay to be able to clear it, and we do play the Jack, and we're unable to get much value from it since it's not going to be able to pop anything. I could have used it to be able to draw and then cycle a card, but I decided it's better to just keep it up for now. 10 drop strength is going to punish that play really hard, so now I'm really down on board tempo, and I do play the Kaido to be able to pop the 9-cost Whitebeard, but even then it's still not enough to really bring it back from here. That Shanks is going to represent a whole lot of pressure on his side of the field, and on top of that he does block her up with the 5-drop Kid, as well as the 5-drops Queen. And Kid's in a really good spot right now. He's going to be committing swings to my life, and that's all going to connect because I don't have a whole lot of counter in hand, and plus they are really beefy swings, and he's just going to hide behind these blockers. And I do swing 5 with the King first, trying to get one of his blockers to block so I can swing 9k with the Kaido into it, but he does have the Rad Beam to protect it. I don't have much steam left in my hand, and I know I couldn't go for game, so I thought that the best play I could do here was just try and manage his board as best as I could. Coming back to the Kid's turn, unfortunately I didn't have a whole lot of counter in hand, so if he did choose to go for game, he totally would have gotten it, but instead he decides to go and block her up here. I've got one more shot of a crackback here, and it won't really matter since I've got 3 swings and he's still got 3 life, and on top of that he does have 3 blockers. I am able to clear 2 of them with the event, but that's still not going to be enough. I play the brand new here to try and find a little bit more counter to maybe make it out of an attack, but I find the Kobe instead, and I'm unable to use my King effect into Kobe to pop the last blocker since I've only got 2 Dawn left, so that's a little bit unfortunate, and then the last swing I do make is going to be countered with the Rad Beam event. Coming to our opponent's last turn, he is going to start with a 7k swing so he can -1 to give his Kid leader a little bit extra oomph, but I've got no chance of coming out of that. GG. Coming into game 4, we're against Wobblehouse for a second episode in a row, and he is playing the Rebecca deck. Rebecca has been popping in and out in the Eastern formats from time to time, but in case you don't know what she does, this is another leader that cannot attack, but she has an activate main once per turn. You can pay 1 Dawn. If you have 6 or less cards in your hand, look at the top 2 cards from your deck, reveal 1 Dressrosa type, add it to your hand, then trash the rest. Despite this, Rebecca still has ways of getting around not being able to attack. For example, she has access to the Caritas Coliseum, which, if your leader has the Dressrosa type characters can attack characters, specifically characters, on the turn that they are played, essentially giving them rush. Rebecca also has access to tools like Kairos, which has protection. It's got access to the Gear for Luffy, which can restand himself, as well as a searchable Sabo, which is honestly just huge. It's been a while since I faced against this leader, so I'm kind of forgetting how to actually play against this leader. one of the biggest things that this leader needs is to have 6 or less cards in hand, so naturally they want to be countering out of every hit, so they're able to use the leader effect every turn to be able to add cards to their hand. And that's evident in how long I've been yapping about this deck, and our opponent still has a healthy 5 life left in their total. And on our opponent's turn, we do see that they drop the 7-drop Gear 4 Luffy. This is going to be honestly one of the strongest cards in their deck. You can send 7 cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck to be able to refresh the Luffy, meaning it can either attack twice or just not attack the second time, since if you do use this effect, it won't refresh during your next refresh phase. This is really powerful in tandem with a card like Gum Gum Jet Gatling, which for 3 Dawn gives 6k to one of your Dressrosa type characters, as well as giving it double attack. So honestly, anytime that I see it, it's going to be a pretty high priority to try and get it off the field. This Cavendish that he plays is also going to be pretty annoying. Dawn times 1 when attacking, you can also swing into one of your opponent's active characters, so even if we do want to be able to play something, it might be swung into by the Cavendish. And we do see this here. We do see the 8 swing into ulti, but I do decide I want to protect it with one of my blockers. And our opponent is going to use the leader effect to add a Rebecca to hand, and then we do see the 7-drop Gear 4 Luffy come down. And this card can also swing into active characters, so I am pretty aggressively protecting my ulti here. I do want to keep it up for the crackback. I give the Rebecca as well as counter for that. Seeing as our opponent's Luffy did use the second swing, I know it's not going to be refreshed during our opponent's turn, so I'm feeling pretty good that it's not going to be a threat during our opponent's next turn. Knowing this, I do use my removal on the Kaido, since it does have some protection effects when KO'd, and Kaido sends the trash instead of KOing. While the Luffy does not refresh during the refresh phase, I completely forgot that does not stop it to activate main, so our opponent still can use its effect to return 7 cards from trash to set it to active again. A little bit of a misplay there, especially considering that Luffy poses a much bigger threat compared to the Kairos, but it's not so grave of a misplay that we won't be able to come back from it. And our opponent does clear our entire board. I do give counter for this first swing, and then he uses Truno Bastardo to be able to pop a 4 cost, and that clears our whole board. And we do learn from our mistakes when we play the Kaido. We are going to be sending that Luffy to trash this time, and we are able to establish a large threat of our own on our side of the field. And our opponent does try and take it down with the Cavendish swinging into it, demanding 2 2Ks, which fortunately for me I do have in hand, so we are going to give it to protect our Kaido. And in my mind, I don't really mind going down to 0 cards in hand, especially considering we could always use our leader effect to Dawn -2 to draw a card, and on top of that we're still at a healthy 4 life. I do establish a wider board here in anticipation that when it comes back to my crackback turn, I can probably clear that 1 last life, and then I wouldn't need too much to be able to go for game past that. I just need to make sure that this Kaido absolutely sticks onto the board. And we do protect the Kaido from the Kairo swing because that is going to be a pivotal part of going for game in our future turns. Our opponent does establish the Bartolomeo blocker, and we don't really have a way to get rid of it, so we don't have a whole lot going on during this turn. Our draw wasn't that impactful, so we are just going to commit some bigger swings to our opponent's side of the field to at least clear some bodies. And on our opponent's turn, they are going to big swing into the Kaido again, but unfortunately, we do have enough counter to get that Kaido out and alive again. And then on my turn, we do draw the 1 card that I absolutely need to clear out this game. We do draw the Moria and drop it here, playing the Rebecca and brand new. That Moria is going to be a large threat on our side of the field, and on top of that, the Rebecca was able to get us back at 2k, and it's going to represent a block coming from our opponents. We are able to clear the last life in our opponent's life total, and we are starting to catch up on tempo here. I'm pretty sure that the only way we don't push for game next turn is if our opponent establishes a whole lot of blockers, and on top of that drops the Sabo to be able to protect them all, but instead we see a value / defensive oriented Moria. We see that the Rebecca blocker grabbed the 2k, and the 1-drop Rebecca was able to grab an event, which is not going to help them out defensively. And he really should have blocked this first swing instead of giving counter, and to punish that, I am going to use King Leader effect to -2 to the Rebecca, and then play the T-Bone that I got off of the Rebecca earlier, and then I'm going to commit the last big swing I need to go for game. GG's. Looks like we got to stay in the green for another episode. We finished 3-1, pushing our overall record to 13-9. That also means we get to bank another 3 commons for another episode, and it'll probably be another off-meta episode unless we change things up. I'm glad that we got to experiment with some different cards, especially some of the purple cards. I got a lot of good value out of that 9-cost purple Linlin, which felt really good every time I played it. Unfortunately, some of the packages, like the Ulti Page 1 combo and the Biscuit Warrior engine, kind of underperformed, but I still had fun with them. The first and second place finishers today were Max, the Lucci player piloting Red Blue Marco today, and Dom, the RP Kid player from round 3. Those two leaders will be banned for the next event, meaning that we still have King in our back pocket to play for another off-meta event. That's a story for another day, but for us, it'll be back to our starter deck 14 Luffy. So, we meet again at the end of another video. Thank you so much for watching. Your support through watch time, liking, commenting, subscribing, or even just telling me in person that you enjoy the series has been super fulfilling and motivating for me. I hope you had as much fun watching today's off-meta event as I did deck building for it, as well as playing in it. Should I look into another leader for the next off-meta event? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. And until next time, drink your water, pass out love, hearts, kisses, mwah!